Morning, Reba. How you doing? All right. And we are up and running. Let's get this all set up. Get a little worried every time I open Trade of 8, thinking that I left the trade open from last night. We are all set. Ooh, nasty little dip pre-market. And that would have been a nice hold. Went all the way up to 674 last night. Then right at London Open, we just crashed down. Let me get some music up in the back for me. Get the stream alert out. All right, good morning, everyone. Should have Rebo in here for right now, but everyone else will file in here in a minute. I'm sure I'll answer this a good few times throughout the stream today. I'm actually going to get Discord up on this computer, so I don't have to hop between that. So I had a good few questions about this yesterday. What do I do when the initial balance breakout's pretty much right when it closes? Yesterday we had the initial bounce low form or high form first, then the low, the new high form first right at 10:15, so just before 10:30. And then we closed, and we're looking at the 10:15 candle. If we go down to the 5 minutes, it'll clearing. You can see we closed just barely below that IB. It took out a new high with like 3 minutes left, and then went maybe wick down 20 cents, took it with a wick, and then went and broke the IB. So a trade like this, like what we had yesterday, that's just a no trade. There's no reason for us to get into a position. The risk reward, we always want to pull back, and this point was just hammered home for me on Friday last week. We had a pullback all the way to 618.12. I tried getting in a little earlier than I should because I didn't think we were going to pull back. I ended up taking 2 small losses on it, and then it continued in the direction that I was looking for. Great example of what we were looking for yesterday, and then it just never ended up going and taking the IB 50, never really had any retracement whatsoever. It had a move down to 619.90, sorry, and then we broke the IB at 620.22. So it was like a 20-cent break, maybe 8 points, I think, maybe 10 points. So just no trade on that yesterday. And then for the trade that we had last night, I think Marshall's in here. Yeah, he is. That trade that we had last night was based on this trend break. I think I can, there we go. I can draw a line right here. It's a little difficult to see on Trade of 8, but if you can see that orange line, let me try to make it a different color for you. Maybe white will work, and then I can make the thickness. Yeah, there we go. So that was the trend line break from last night. I entered on the confirmation of the break over VWAP as well, and then ended up selling it super early. Only got 21 out of it, but it scaled over all of them, thankfully. And then it ended up hitting that. The PT was at 25,641. The reason being that was the fair value gap on that trend that we established, or a little imbalance, whatever you want to call it. There's a lot of support resistance at that level from yesterday, so that's where I put the PT. 25,641 ended up hitting it, and went all the way up to 25,674, and then London session kind of just destroyed that London open, especially that 3 a.m. open. So what we're going to do for today, same thing we did yesterday, just look for the IB. Yeah, no problem. I know it wasn't that big of a win, but I thought we were going to have more struggle, which we did. It took, I hate charting on Trade8, but I'm not going to do it on Project X because I didn't take it there. It took an hour and a half for it to break through 25.6, so I'm not really that upset that I closed there. I don't think I would have wanted to hold it for that long through that level. Like, it would have ended up being like a 3-hour trade, so did have to have a little patience, but did not deploy it. And then for today's session, speaking of which, too, yesterday was the smallest. I went and back tested this. Yesterday was the smallest IB that we've had on SPY outside of that half day that we had last week. Smallest IB that we've had on SPY for, I think, like, aside from the half days. I think it was like 3 weeks of trading. It was very tight. Even if we had gotten a perfect retracement to 50%, SPY broke on like the first 2 seconds of the IB yesterday, so nothing we could have taken there anyway. Going over to Qs, we mark out our previous day's 50. The first thing I actually want to do before we do that, we are still within this little pennant, nasty little thing here. Very clear trend line up. We're making higher lows. Very clear trend line down, making lower highs. So one of these two levels is going to give coming up here within, should be at most, oh, let me use the wicks on this. I'll draw 2 different ones. Should be at most the next 5 days. So we have 4 or 5 trading days within this trend before we break out. I think it's more so that right there, that trend line with the bodies lined up. So it might take a little bit longer than we like. The bottom trend line isn't all that significant. The one that's more important is that top trend line for resistance, because that's the one that we're pushing towards now. So that's what I'm expecting for a trend line break. What we have for data today, forget to pull up edgeful. I need to pull up the Discord tab over here. Pull up edgeful. Never wants to remember my login, does it? Okay, for our inside bar report on Qs, both on SPY too. SPY is within the same range as yesterday as well. It's an inside bar. We have a 73% chance of breaking this range on Qs, and SPY also has an 80% chance of breaking this range. So this previous day's 50, really just the previous day's high and low, is what we should be targeting for a draw today. We just had a really nice bounce off previous day's 50. I wish I had charted out a little bit sooner. Maybe I would have gotten along off that pre-market. So that's our level for previous day's 50, and then our level for London 50. They're both right next to each other. So we're either going to have a continuation to that high off of London 50. Probably not going to touch that first 15-minute candle again today, because we do have data at 9:45. Pull up the market data this week. We have 9:45 PMI today. So that will, if we do get in a trade, it's going to be a little volatile coming into that 9:45 open. But what I want to see for right now, since we are over it, we do have 17 minutes to open. I want to see a move down to those 50s, or really, since we already had the move down, just hold it and then have a continuation up. And then for our previous day's range, we're targeting up to 620.83. Realistically, we should be targeting up to 622.86 or all the way down to 610 because it's a double inside bar so far. The mother bar is right here. It hit both the trendline top and trendline bottom on Friday. So we need to see a break of that range, which is 622.83 or 610.16. So that's our London 50 for right now. I don't think it's going to change prior to open. And then same exact play for SPY. SPY, we have our previous day's 50 right there, and then our London 50. Only difference here is that London low lines up with previous day's 50. The reason that SPY and Qs are off right now, as much as they are, is actually I don't need to pull up the heat map. Costco had a 2.5% day yesterday, which is weighted pretty heavily in SPY. I don't think it has any weighting in Qs. Qs is tech. SPY is just the S&P 500. And then Eli Lilly. This one I thought canceled out, but Costco has a heavier weighting in SPY than Eli Lilly does. It should have canceled out a little bit. Tech was lagging yesterday. That's the big point behind this. Meta canceled out Microsoft. Apple canceled out. Apple and Amazon canceled out what Tesla did. Oh, this is on Qs I'm talking about. And then for the big one we had, I do actually need to pull up the heat map because I forget. FinViz. So the big one was Amazon. This got canceled out by Apple. Tesla canceled out the move of, could have been Microsoft because it was a flat day. But the big section was down here in banking and asset management. These ones all pretty much canceled out what the drop was on big tech, NVDA, Avgo, those ones. Healthcare didn't do well whatsoever. But it was pretty mixed on the S&P. But if we go and pull up the NASDAQ heat map, and it might do the same thing for today, we'll see. If we go and pick the NASDAQ heat map, it looks a little bit worse. It's a lot of green for the smaller holdings. Not so good for NVIDIA, Avgo, AMD, MU, Apple. So for today, we don't really have any gap fill that we'll be targeting. It's 0.12%, which is the lowest measure. These ones usually fill with a wick into open. So it's an 86% chance that we get this filled. Don't really care about that with how small the gap is. The one that I'm looking for is the inside bar stat, especially because we're on kind of a dry streak with it. We stayed within yesterday's range yesterday. We stayed within yesterday's range or previous day's range on 12:30. Does London 50 only work on futures? It does not. You can use it on individuals as well. Tesla looks like it worked perfectly yesterday. So there would have been a really nice entry on Tesla, wick down to London 50. The reason it works better on futures is because individuals you can't really, I mean, for options you could enter, but individuals are a little more difficult to have timely entries with the London 50. What's going on, Matthew? How you doing? Let's see if IB is kind to us today. Yeah, no kidding. IB was rough yesterday. Yesterday's inside bar stat for QQQ didn't give us much. Same percent thereabouts as today's stat. Although the inside range is much smaller, so should be a goer. Yeah, I mean, we're not based completely on the stats. They're just giving us a guide for the day. This one it should be a lot more attainable. We had a 1% gap up yesterday, and we had another 1% to continue up to that high, which was probably pretty unlikely. And then for today's range, we only have half of that. We're only at 0.1%. Then we have like a 0.5% move up. These lines on the chart are the London 50. You can't seem to set a take profit or stop loss on trade bait for group trades. How many accounts are you copy trading, Eddie? You have to do it in multiples of however many accounts you're copy trading. So it has to be 5, 10, 15, 20. And then when you set the stop loss on those trades, so let's say you do 2 entries of 5 MNQ, you have to change it up. You have to change this to 10 and then click on the chart and put your stop and limit. I made that same mistake when we started on there too. What about indices like NASDAQ 100? Yeah, that's what I traded on. QQQ is what I do London 50 on. Carlito. Let me know if that works for you, Eddie. Is edgeful range New York session low and high, or does it include 4 a.m. low? That's for the London 50. That's not the edgeful range. The edgeful range is just, oh, I understand what you mean now. It's the entire range of yesterday. 4 a.m. all the way to 8 p.m.'s close. Not just 9:30 to 4. It's the entire range. So we're going from the 4 a.m. low all the way to the high that we made at 620.81. It includes the pre-market range. Since you're live, could you please tell us how you're scaling vertically? I'm scaling horizontally, not vertically. Vertically would be scaling up to, as opposed to trading 1 MNQ on 20 accounts, it would be trading 1 NQ on each account. So horizontally trading or horizontally scaling, I'm trading the same lot just on 20, 25, 30 accounts, as opposed to doing 5 MNQ on 5 accounts. And the reason being, it's a lot less stressful. There's no, oh man, I'm going to blow the account because I took one bad trade and I'm in a rut. I'm going to revenge trade. If I were to revenge trade, I would take like 10 losing trades in a row. Can you repeat that? The number correct for the number of accounts. So let's say you're copy trading 5, so your orders have to be set to intervals of 5. If you go and enter more, so let's say you enter 5 MNQ or 1 MNQ on 5 accounts, the next order you have to do is you just click on here and do sell, stop, wherever you have your TP. But if you enter another lot, you have to go up to the top and change it to 10 or 15 or 20, however many you have open. And then that's how you set your TP and stop loss for the group trades. So you just have to make sure on the top that you're set to the right number of accounts when you're group trading it. So if you have 5 accounts that are copy trading, it has to be set to 5, 10, 10. Good, Rocky. How you doing? What's going on? Or are the red and green NQ yesterday range? Is that Fibonacci? That's the red and green ones. That's the initial bounce from yesterday that I was talking about earlier. We never got an entry on the IB because it closed pretty much right where the IB was, unfortunately. So hopefully we'll get a better IB today. I think what we'll get into open is a move. We might get a really quick wick down to that gap fill. It's a really tight London range again, so it's not really going to offer much there. I think we'll get a really quick fill down to the gap, and then we'll get a push up to previous day's high. And vice versa, if we close underneath London 50, we'll get a move down. We do have PMI at 945, just so everyone is aware. So probably not going to take a trade off of the opening candle. If we do, then we're going to have to get it or look to get out before 945. Did that work, Eddie? That make the adjustments for you? I made a mistake yesterday after I got off the live. I was in a QQQ long. It was either a long or a short, and it entered. And this is probably the worst part about Trade-Evate for me, is I left the limit order in, and it ended up filling that limit order. So I had my stop loss and my take profit. I closed the trade, but it left the stop in. The stop ended up getting filled, and I ended up losing like $97 on the trade. Can't see it because it was on yesterday's session, but it was like right around 2 o'clock, 2:30, and it had the stop market fill or buy market fill, buy stop, whatever it was. So every time I need to remember to exit, click this exit at market, close, or cancel. I was very upset about that yesterday. Looks like it. Awesome. All right, let's catch up on some questions here. Why 25K, not 50K? The 25K counts on Apex. The 50Ks only give you 1,000 more in drawdown, but you have to make another 2,000 to get your payout. I know it's another 1,000, so that's quite a bit, but I'm used to trading the 25Ks on Lucid. 25Ks on Lucid have $1,000 in drawdown. The 25Ks on Apex have 1,500. So it's another 500 over what I'm used to. That's why I traded on there. Are you copy trading 10 or 20? These are all 20 being copy traded. I have the group up here. I have it labeled 30K payout. These are my first 20 performance accounts on Apex. I haven't had any prior to this. This is my first run on Apex. Did you try to pass the evals ASAP, or did it take you slow during the funded? I went a little harder on these Apex accounts because of the sale. So I went through 29 of them. I blew 9, funded the other 20. But I did go harder on it because I have the ability to. If you guys don't, this is the excuse me, this is why I put my video yesterday. If you're rushed or if you don't want to rush, that depends on how large you go in the eval. The funded account should be traded the same regardless, 1 to 2 MNQ. Copy trade that over all your funded accounts. That's a 5 to 1 NQ trade or 5 MNQ. So for the 25Ks, I typically stick with 1 MNQ. And this was all off of 1 MNQ last night. It scales over each account. So $58 isn't very much if you're just trading one account, but copy trade over 20, it's a $1,000 day. Shop for those. London session overlaps in New York. So when do you start marking out the London 50? London 50 is marked out at 4 a.m. low to 9:30 high. So right now our current low is at 617.37. Our high is at 619.58. I like that NVDA cash you put from yesterday, Matthew. That was nice. Or the covered call, sorry. Previous day's range is the entire range from yesterday. 4 a.m. all the way to that 8 p.m. close, any high or low made in that time frame. Shabam, don't even get me started on how bad Trade of 8 is. I hate it. It's awful. Especially after trading on Project X, this is terrible. Like, this looks like something from... Obviously, I didn't trade during that time frame, but this looks like something from 2010 on Trade of 8, if not earlier. You can't get rid of the grid lines as far as I'm concerned, or as far as I know. You can't really adjust the colors. There's almost no personalization on Trade of 8. I'd never traded MT5, but I've seen a lot of people say this is pretty much the same thing. That's why I do. It wasn't that bad of a switch because I do all my charting on TradingView and then go and just take the trade on Trade of 8 or Project X, whichever one. But yeah, this is a terrible interface. I hate it. How much points for stop loss? Stop loss is dependent on wherever the IB gives us today. If I enter a London 50 trade, I usually put the stop at 50 points. If it's 1 MNQ, and I put it at 35 points if it's 2 MNQ. I can't get rid of the grid lines. Please, how do I get rid of the grid lines? Someone tell me. I need it. There's no red folder news. We have PMI at 9:45. I don't consider PMI red folder news, but it's damn close. It also depends on what the news is that we get. There we go. We're open. It's really nice bounce off both London 50 and previous days 50. For our GATFul stat, we are in the second bracket, so it's a 50-50 that we get the fill down. We might not get a fill. I do think it's going to target previous day's high pretty quick. Let's see if I had anything drawn on here before. There we go. That should be the outcome that we get today. Yes, that's why, Shimon. Thanks for answering that. So I can't connect the Apex accounts to TradingView. If I had Trade Syncer or Trade Copier, Trade Copia, whatever it is, I could, but you can't copy trade from connecting an account to TradingView. So since I want to copy trade L20, I have to go over to Trade of 8. Trade of 8's, honestly, after using Project X for so long, the fills and watching the executions on Trade of 8 are worlds better than Project X. I didn't think it was that bad, but like I've made probably another, I know it doesn't seem like much, but probably like another $15, $20 a day on each account just from how much better the fills are on Trade of 8. And the stop losses too. There's no velocity logic on Trade of 8, which is that BS that Top Step feeds you guys at any time there's like CPI news or anytime Project X goes into a pre-open. I'm sure everyone has seen that. If you guys have ever traded CPI, if you've ever traded really any data, and Top Step goes in, or Project X goes into a pre-open status, and then you get wicked out like $500 below what your stop loss is. I've been there too. Having like 1 or 2 NQ open for CPI, freezes, and then you blow the account. I use Replicanto and NinjaTrader for copying, and traded on TradingView, never had issues. I just haven't given them a try yet, Kowalski. I've heard good things from a lot of people. I just haven't gotten into either of them, Trade Syncer or Trade Copier or Replicanto. I think that's what Leo uses, Replicanto. So I want to see preferably up to previous day's high, since that one's a lot closer. We did form the IB low with that little wick at open, then the highs formed first, or high formed second. So I'd be targeting the high, but we still have obviously an hour left for that trade. If we sweep over London high, we could target a move lower. Let's see. Are you able to copy trade your TP and stop loss? Yes. So if let's say I wanted to enter a long right here, and this is for you as well, Eddie. If I wanted to enter a long, I'd probably do either buy bid or buy market. And then I set you just click on the chart, you have your sell 20 limit, that's your TP. And then your sell 20 stop, that's your stop loss. And that scales over each account. The fills are the only kind of stinky thing. Is you can see it's not a perfect environment. It's not too bad because it's 1 MNQ. What I did last night is I moved these accounts around in the trade copier. They were all mixed up before. I made it so the accounts that had the lower balance got moved up top because those ones fill first. The ones that are traded first. So if I'm on the first account, that's where my entries and exits are. Everything gets maybe like a 1/10 of a second delayed for each account after that. So the account at the top, I had a balance of like 25,180 yesterday, and the one at the bottom had a balance of 25,169. So it's not terrible, but over time it would probably be off by like $300. It would be a long time, but still. So to avoid that, I've been going into the trade copier and just altering which order these accounts are traded in. So now I just have them going 1 through 20. Yesterday it was like account 1, 3, 4, 20, 18, just a random order. But this way I'll just switch up 1 through 20 and then 20 through 1, and vice versa. Trade is terribly ugly. I hate it. It's disgusting. We don't really have anything for a psych level today. We're way over 25.6, so that should be off the table. Actually, also where we bounced off of London 50, previous day's 50. And then we might get up to 25.7. It's just below yesterday's high, which should hit. And we'll put a wick over it. Any thoughts on funded next Bolt accounts? I haven't used them or even looked into using them before. I have all my focus on these Apex accounts. I was joking about this with Steve earlier. I don't know if he's in here right now. No, Steve. Message him. I was joking about this with him earlier. Anytime I get over 3 sets of funded accounts, meaning that I'm trading on Apex, Tradeify, and Lucid, I usually end up blowing one set of the accounts because I can't focus on it. But if I use Trade Copier, then I'd be fine. Same thing for SPY too. I actually have no wick on the bottom of this candle, so it might be a drawdown. I want to see London 50 and then up to previous day's high. SPY looks a little bit cleaner than Q's yet again. QQQ was sloppy yesterday. That was terrible. It's a new one-day funded data release with daily payouts. What are the qualifications to it? I'll have to look through them. We have data coming out in 6 minutes. MES was much cleaner yesterday. It's cleaner again today. Tech hasn't really been doing all that good. Oh, Bitcoin's up again today. Like NVIDIA's been doing all right, but it's just for the past 3 weeks, it's been inversing every day that it's made. So it has a green day on a Tuesday, and then it goes and has a red day on a Wednesday, green day on a Thursday, red day on a Friday. But especially for the past 2 weeks, it has a opening wick, and then whatever that direction of that wick is, it just inverses that and chops for the rest of the day. It's kind of screwing the direction on Qs. But SPY doesn't have as bad of a weighting on NVIDIA, so it's not that big of an issue. That's why it's been cleaner. HIMS is back at 35 and Bull's back at 870. Very nice. Should be a lot higher on MSCR, I feel. It's getting there. 50K account, $99, no activation fee, 50% consistency removal add-on. So the add-on's probably like another $100, I'm guessing. MSTX $4 cash geared put. I added another 1,000 shares, 1,200 shares of it. That's why I put my Lucid payout towards last week. I had 1,200 shares at 420. Ball nuts. I only have Apex funded accounts now too, so we'll follow you on that with 100 per kit. Yeah, nice. Good number. Yeah. I really don't mind if this was $1,000 drawdown on Apex, it would be an issue, but I don't mind that it's 1,500 with trailing intraday drawdown. As long as I stay over 1,000 on the drawdown, I'm not too worried. But I also trail the stop loss up behind by like 20 points most of the time, 25 points. So even if a trade does go deep green and then flips on us, we're only going to be down like $100 on the drawdown at most. It's not that bad. Well, that's not bad. $120. Can you copy trade 5 of them? Unfunded next? I think they're the ones that don't have news trading too, which isn't really that big of an issue. I don't trade news. As long it can't be worse than Polar Prime. That one was 5 minutes before and after news. You couldn't even be in a trade. If you were, then it just blew the account. All right, so we have 2 countering assets again today, sadly. So Q's just made an IB high into a new IB low right there. SPY hasn't made a new IB low. Q's would be targeting downside. SPY would be targeting upside. Data in 2 minutes should fix this for us. Hopefully. SPY is definitely stronger again today. We didn't get a reaction at London 50, so no entry off of that. Almost got to it. How many of you guys went and watched that YouTube video from yesterday I put out? Talking about no trading during the first 15-minute candle is one of the hard rules. Awesome, Tevin. Another question. We got 2 minutes here while we're waiting. How many people in here? What's going on to everybody, by the way? Waldive, how you doing? Zoo. How many people think that we're going to get another Stranger Things episode on Wednesday? Anyone biting on that? May not be that many people that watching in here. Tuesdays for Semperfi. I wanted to answer this. I'm glad you're in the stream for this. For the IB trade, make sure you're using it on QQQ and not on MNQ. So QQQ for a Tuesday. I'll show you how much this differs. For a Tuesday on QQQ, these are our numbers right here, 73.85. If we go over to MNQ, 73.85. If it'll load. Good bounce right there. We could make a new IB high coming up here soon. 73.85. Oh, it actually happens to be the same this time. Usually these numbers are different. This was a bad example. I'm a fraud. Just make sure that you're using it on the asset itself. MNQ, MGC, MES, ES, and NQ even. There's slippage on those assets. So they'll make different ranges than what QQQ will do, and that just puts another variable on the table for you. There's our PMI, and we should be going towards, we should pretty easily go and take out that 620.82 right now. Yesterday's high. Sorry, 620.79. Yeah, ever profit, go for it. And DM me. You guys can always DM me. Might take me a while to get to them because I'm getting quite a few nowadays. But I typically answer them pretty timely. Here comes our previous day's high. There's long that never look back. These candles really aren't all that big. It's not like we're missing too much. It's given us a better range on the IB, and SPY and Qs are lined up now. So not too much worry there. Mag 7 is mixed. Google, Amazon, NVDA are green. Meta, Tesla, Microsoft, Apple are red. Yeah. I don't really have to look at those now. If you see Qs making a completely different range than SPY, that's usually the case, especially if we go over in the screener for this. It's an even easier shortcut, but we are perfectly split right now. 17% bullish, 17% bearish, and this is lit up like a Christmas tree. Which I always say, first thing Andre said to me, if that looks like a Christmas tree, it's probably going sideways. There's our previous day's high taken. Pretty tricky to see because the lines aren't perfect, but if you guys look in the top left, right about here, I think. Let me look at the stream. Right about, oh, I can't move my, we took it now, but you can see the high that we made on that candle. Did go over that. It's a shame we didn't get down to London 50 there. We missed it by a couple of cents and then had a really strong reaction regardless. It was a nice move up. It's made a nice inversion on the 5-minute as well. I haven't taken the high on SPY yet, so this is going to push a little bit more. As long as Qs doesn't sweep over this previous day's high, we should be fine. Next level is going to be 622.83. That's what we're going to target. 622.83. to go long and go to sleep, it looks like. For Qs, the one thing that I don't really like right now, I'm still probably going to take it, but it should be overdue a loss for the IB high getting taken. It's an 85% chance. Typically is 73. So it's 12% over what the average is. I don't trade futures. CB, I'm trading futures right now. I'm just not in a trade at the moment. Get even or get even worse. Bill Nutt's favorite saying. Oh, gap fill didn't really do anything today because it was too small of a gap. It was a 50-50 for that gap filling, 53-47%. The inside bar, though, this one is back up, should be back up to 75 tomorrow because we took yesterday's high. Now, on the larger time frame, we should be going up towards that trend line top, which is up to 622.64. Once we get over that, we will maintain a pretty easy long bias for a couple of weeks because this is the implied break on this pattern is the distance from the establishing trend, which in this case is 8.5%. So we drag that over here, and that should be our implied break over the next couple of weeks. So use the same time frame. In this case, it was October 29th. Let's say it breaks tomorrow. We get lucky and it has a breakout tomorrow. Then we drag that over to the same start time. And this would be our implied move up into March 17th is when we'd want to see that fulfilled. That would be up to 670, which is $30, $32 over our current all-time highs. It's taking everything with it, though, which is nice for today. Beautiful on the IB now. So we have 40 minutes until this is formed. We want to see a move back down to 50%. There's plenty of time for that to happen. SPY just took its previous day's high. I wish there was a little more confluence I could have used for a long entry there. Ideally, we would have gotten in just right before open because these candles were a beautiful sweep of previous day's 50 and London 50. It would have been a great entry on one. Obviously, PMI helped significantly. Probably wouldn't have made this move without data. So we want to see a move down for that IB50, and then we'll get a pop back up. That's what we'll be targeting for today. Careful, Trump speaking. Thank you. And the range right now, here's my fib on here. Looks like we do have some slippage on M and Q. Charts aren't quite lined up. So we are looking for down to, I don't need any of those. Make that wait, make that wait, make that one wait. I can't believe people used to chart on this regularly. It's disgusting. Oh, save that as default, actually. Save. All right, so our range today is 611 up to 749, 130 points, just over. So our break is going to be, if we go and retrace this 50% here, our break is going to be 65 points. Mike Ross, if you think this is a big range, this is the same range so far as yesterday, but This is a big IB range, and we still went and broke it on Friday. This one was a 420 point range on the IB. And then the break, or 400 point range, the break ended up being, from the retracement, ended up being 180 points. And it happened right at 10:45. So we might, time will tell. We still have over 30 minutes. Definitely remove the grid lines. Thank you so much, Sean. How do I do that? Oh my gosh, it looks so much better. Oh, it looks so much better. Thank you so much, Sean. Thank you. Oh. Oh, that's just the color scheme. Can I change the colors on here? Oh, shoot. I didn't mean to. There you go. Okay. Price levels, daily volume, market depth, go current bar, continuous auto fit. that looks 10 times better. And they were starting to get somewhere with trade of 8. If this is the IB high, then the 50 will be in line with the 15-minute orb high. Yes. Yep. That's that blue line right there. It was just barely over it. That's the retest that we're looking for. We won't take that trade until 10:23. That's as early as I'll front run it. For right now, there's 25 minutes of development that can happen in that time frame. NVIDIA is getting a nice little rebound here. That PMI really helped. Oh man, what's going on with, how did MSCR just go red? Unbelievable. The stock sucks. So Oxel's back at 53. What the heck? I was at 35 last week. It's back at 53. I was going to ask about the front runner being NQ moves big quick. Yeah, I'll front run it up to 10:23. So 7 minutes before the IB's formed. Yesterday, if this has happened a few times where it just chops, barely makes a new IB high, so it switches the direction you're looking for, and then breaks the IB high right away. Just no trade on that. No entry, no trade. Let's move on. Today's previous day's high broke, yes, but we're targeting up to 622.81, 622.85, sorry. That is the high from Friday, which is the inside bar from yesterday that we never fulfilled. That's our draw for right now. $2 candle up. Go ahead and adjust that. So as we increase, as we go higher, the IB50 goes higher as well. $690 on SPY is going to be a psych level that we have a little struggle at. That's where we are right now. SPY doesn't really have much for resistance. 690.31's next, and then 691.65. We should reject 690 for a little bit. These Qs might come down here for us. The IB50 is no longer right at that 15-minute orb high. It's at 620.39 now. Why 1023? That's just what I've found works in terms of front running it. You don't want to go too early. Like if I take an entry at 10 o'clock, that's still 30 minutes left on the IB to do something. Preferably, I get the entry after the IB's formed or at like 10:28 or 10:29. What about the gap fill since it has a high chance of filling? The gap fill stat only had a 50-50 chance for today. 53.47 on Qs. It was a 0.2% gap up, 0.23. So it's only 50-50. It's not a high chance that we go and fill. If it was less than that, then yeah, it was 86, but we came up and went just over 0.2. So not looking at that. Just on to the IB per Tuesday now. And we want to see it wick back down to 620.37. That will be our entry. We'll take one M&Q there. And our stop loss will be the IB low. Take profit will be the IB high. Good morning, kiddo. How you doing? Wish there was a magnet tool on here too. The high is at least easier to go and see because I have that marked out on Trade-Evate, that green line. No problem, Kurt. Silver looking to double top. I find it funny how many people are trading silver now, but they realize it moves faster than NQ. So you go and buy 15. I see so many posts of this on social media now. You go and buy 15 silver longs or shorts, and you either make $70,000 or you blow your account. But you only see the people post that they made 70,000. No one's going to post that they blew an account trying to trade silver. What's going on, Bull? How you doing? First time here. Welcome in. So we are just about at that trend line top now. This would have been a beautiful long. I'm disappointed I didn't jump into anything. Can't catch every move. Same thing for Friday. It would have been a perfect short, and that was like a 400-point drop that we could have capitalized on. Didn't do anything with that. Right now we are at our low is 25,608 for today. So it's a 170-point range now. Means our IB is going to be 85 points. It's the difference between trading futures and options. Futures doesn't have time decay on it. You could still take the same trades, but on futures, you can hold the trade for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, and nothing's going to change. Options, you're going to lose 50% of the value if you hold it for 3 hours. What's up, Roland? Scalp short and long. Wonderful day. Yeah, I'm regretful that I didn't go long. Let's see how much it missed London 50 by on that wick. 618.47. It was on the 9:45 end of that 9:30 candle. 9:45 5-minute. If it had gotten a little tiny bit lower, we could have taken an entry. It's okay. Making a nice top candle now. So we want it to come all the way back down to 620.47. That's where 50% is. And then from there, we'll target back up to the high. Should reject at this trend line top too. If we break this today, we're going to have several weeks of upside. Also, if you guys remember what I mentioned for the first trading day of the year, January 2nd, in this case, the color of that candle Inverse is what we do for the next couple of months, typically. Honestly, inverse is what we do for the year. So like January last year, this is just a quick example. Last January, we also opened with a red candle. Where is it? Doji candle, actually, scratch that. But the next couple of months, we didn't really do anything with that doji candle. And then we had that nasty downside in March. But with the size of this red candle we put in, inverse what we'll do for the next couple of months, we should have some pretty good upside coming up here. Good little pivot there. So we have, excuse me, we have 14 minutes before we can enter a trade on this. $17 minutes, sorry, not 14. How much you got in your Apex today, Roland? If I may ask. I'm guessing 168. 168 times 18, and then there's going to be one account at the bottom that has like 3,000. Oh, one. I'm going to pick the one that says 166. I was off by $2. I win. Pretty nice. Very nice. 200 for the elite requirements. I get you. Is that trade copier? Trade Syncer? Tradeify? Do you use a limit order at 50% IB at 1023 or wait for the candle confirmation? Sometimes I put a limit there. Most of the time I just watch it and then I'll do a market order. The reason being, there's slippage on M&Q, and you can see it very slightly today. If we go to that opening candle, these are the two opening candles right here, 915, 930. See how the 915 candle on M&Q has a lower wick? Probably even look the same for the 845 and 9 o'clock, but we have a lower wick here. If we go over to Qs, that wick is much higher for 945 versus 915. So the reason I don't put market orders, the reason I don't put limit orders is it might be off by 5 to 10 points, like this one was. So this candle should have a wick that's at like 612 instead it made a wick that's at 608. So it's off by 4 points in that case. So the pre-market candle too. So I always watch on Qs and then just take the trade on M&Q or whatever platform I'm using. That's also, to go into answering your question from earlier, Semperfi, that's also why I don't use MNQ or MGC or MES. SPY for ES, Faye. SPY is ES. QQQ is NQ, IWM is RTY, and I actually don't know the one for the Dow. I don't know what YM is, but I don't trade YM, so. SLV is for silver, SI, and then GLD is for gold, GC. Just about taking out Friday's high right now. Very close. Nope, no separate ones, Bull. I'm from Maine. Probably one of the very few people in here from Maine. I think I've come across one other trader on Twitter that's from Maine. Pine Tree Trader, I believe his name is. I forgot to add this in the video from yesterday, but this helps with getting payouts as well quite a bit, or just trading in general. 80% of the time price is moving in a direction, it will continue moving that direction. Only 20% of the time it pivots. That's why we're always looking for a continuation on price. That's why the IB stat works so well, because it lines up with that 80% stat. So our continuation is based on not us trying to catch the top and find a pivot there, because that only happens 20% of the time. Our continuation is waiting for the pivot to happen, pivot down into a discount zone, which is either IB 50, London 50, previous days 50, and then go long from there. I never understand with futures prop firms, why can't we earn a lot for a day and must have the same amount each day for consistency? It keeps people from coming in and doing exactly what I just said, going on silver. You get your funded account for one day, you go on silver, you buy 15 silver longs, you either make $50,000 or you lose the account. One of those benefits the prop firm slightly, the other one is detrimental to them. Separates skill from luck, exactly, yes. Separates gamblers from actual traders. Which is why you only see those profits on Top Step, but the reward to that is that they limit you to how much you can withdraw from the account. So even though you made $100,000 on a 50K XFA, you can only take 5K out at a time. I think he's already been speaking, hasn't he, Sam? Oh, yeah, there's the orange man. A little fist bump. Still going to be looking for the same pullback. We have 12 minutes before we can take this trade now. What price will we be selling Tesla shares? Looking for it to go green, and then I'm going to target the $23 covered calls, Roland. I was looking at them all day. Next week expiration, didn't really have the premium that I wanted. I don't want to kind of cut ourselves short too much in those Tesla shares, because I've done it every time we've been in the shares. Hold it and do a CC. Yeah, that's what I'm going to try. 23 for next week, but we need more premium on it. So Trump is speaking right now. Thank you, Sam. Looking for this to pull back down to 620.46. Where are we looking at the QQQ chart? Because I'm trading M and Q. I just don't think you guys really want to look at this chart for it. This is nasty. Even with the grid lines off, it's still gross. And we're going to do one M and Q at 50%. TP is going to be the high. Stop loss is going to be the low, or just before the low. So we'll probably risk $70. Well, that's because I'm up. Risk will be 130. Reward will be 130. 75-point range, or 85-point range, sorry. So 170, 170. Our entry is ideally 25,690. If we end up not getting a pullback, then it's going to be the same thing as yesterday, and we just don't take a trade on it, sadly. But yesterday should have been a fluke. The IB break like what we had yesterday doesn't happen all that often. How do I go and change the colors on there? Where's that setting? Chart elements, indicators, template list, chart settings, fills and orders, price levels, daily volume, market depth, go to current bar, autofill chart, color scheme, light and dark. That's the only thing I can do. Yeah, it won't let me. All I see is dark and light. What range on M&Q were you trading on 25K evals? Whatever the IB range is for the day. For today, it's 80 points. And then for the evals, I did, instead of doing one M&Q, I'd do 3. So I had 3x the size on them. It's also dependent on what you want to do in terms of like your own personal money situation. Not saying that is a bad thing. I'm just saying if you are okay with blowing $19 on an eval and then either passing it real quick or trading it slowly, that's up to you. Like if you don't mind taking a couple $100 and throwing that at an eval and being a little riskier with it. But the funded accounts should all be traded the same, just 1 to 2 M&Q scaled over all the accounts as opposed to trading 5 M&Q. Click color scheme and use the little square symbols, these. Oh. Okay, I'll mess around with that later. Thank you, guys. I thought that was just the copy and paste one. Thank you. The more you know. All right, that's a pretty damn good pivot candle up there. Hopefully within the next 10 minutes here, we get down to 50%, then we can take it. No, I copy traded on evals. I did not. I copy traded on, I think, 9 of them. And those are the 9 that I blew. And then for these accounts, I just traded them one at a time. And I'm glad that I did because this little tricky bastard down here, the 15th account, I accidentally left an order in. I had it passed, but I left an order in on it and then ended up not passing it. I was off by like $70. Right? Was I doing 3 M&Qs on the Lucids? Yeah, I was. You could do 2 M&Q on Lucid because it's a little tighter. The reason that I was doing 3 is because it doesn't have a trailing drawdown, so you can let the trades run a little bit more. I still had like a $200 stop in on those trades, but I just moved the TP up to break even and let the trade run. Rafshan, today we take 1 M&Q and the risk will be about 80 points. Tomorrow, if we take ES, would you risk same dollar amount, which is 160? It's dependent. If you want to take ES will be less of a risk because it's a smaller range and the points move smaller as well. So this is only $1 range on MES. Oh, I have to do it for each chart. That's stupid. Fibonacci. So our range on SPY, that's our opening candle. That's our range on SPY. So it would only be 14 points. I don't know what that correlates to for, I think it's $1 a point on 1 MES. Is that correct? So your risk on MES would be 140. Your risk on QQQ today would be like 170. Yeah, no problem, Zoo. It's for the Lucid accounts, like I just said, it's all dependent on what you want to do in terms of passing it. But for Lucid, there's zero rush. There's no reason to go and size up on those because it's a one-time payment. The only reason that I sized up on Apex as much as I did was because it's monthly recurring. And the monthly recurring on Apex is like 3 times as much as what you would pay for that promo. So instead of being like 36 or 19, it would be 65 or $80 without the promo. Click on the previous settings and it saves your settings. Thank you. Thank you. $5 per point. On MES. So this would be just under, that's not very much. 14 points, that would only correlate to $70. So there you go, though. If you want to risk less, you can go and trade MES. I might trade MES today as well. I was going to trade MES yesterday for the IB, but it just never ended up giving us an entry. Same with Qs, but Qs I just like trading. Moves a little quicker. It's less boring. Does edgeful have a report that shows data on percent price returns to the IB 50 after the IB is completed? It does, yes. So that is the IB by retracement report right here. And that's after the IB is formed and broken. I almost never use this one. Scratch that. I never use this one because I'm never looking to trade after the IB is broken. Yesterday, it looked like it worked for the retracement pretty well. It ended up going all the way down to 80%, but you can see how the percent chances drop off significantly after the IB is broken. And that's because there's barely any trading that happens during the afternoon session. Unless there's FOMC that day, there's almost no trading for the afternoon. No volume, no trading, no direction. The only one they have for that taco is IB by rejection. You can add in if it's above or below 50%, the midpoint. That's the only one they have. You trade the extension levels if we get it. I haven't tried those either, mainly because they have like I sometimes use the 0.5 extension, but we barely ever hit 0.5 or 1. The only days that we do are when the IB is a low or a small range, and then you have news that comes out in the afternoon. That's the only ones that I've observed that end up hitting like 1 or 1.5 plus. The reason that I just use the IB itself is because it's a 96% stat. So it happens typically happens 5 out of 5 days of the week. Would you say edgeful helped you to be profitable? 100%. I would have never figured out the IB and all the stats behind the IB without edgeful. Yeah, absolutely. I have noticed that's one of the examples Andre gave me when we had our little call, but we very rarely go up to any of these, especially in recent days. I think we've had maybe 3 days where even half standard deviation is hit on the extension. The rest of them have just been terrible. Like these ones all break the IB, same exact thing as yesterday. We break the IB and then we stay within the range for the rest of the day. How long have I been profitable? Probably 4 years, 5 years. Yeah, 5 years, I'd say. All right, we need a little bit more of a pullback than this. This is the part where patience kind of sucks because we could do what we did yesterday, where it just goes and breaks it immediately, and we have no trade. On the same note, we could do what we did on Friday, where we were impatient, tried taking the trade early, and it goes and retraces up. So we're better off waiting for the retracement just because the risk reward's in our favor. Bit tough of us who can't use Apex to go nuts with risk on evals, even though I don't want to blow too many $100 evals trying to pass them quickly. Yeah, Bob, that's what I'm saying. Use Lucid. I don't know what account you might be trading, but you don't need, for Lucid, it's a one-time payment regardless of what account you go and get. And then with those Lucid accounts, use a payout that you get on Lucid to fund what you want to do on Apex. So you don't have to go nuts even if you don't have the money for it, or if you don't want to risk blowing $100 evals. Lucid is where I started with for these Apex accounts. Like the first payout I got in November, I used that 5,000, put that into MSTX, and the second payout that I just got in like 2 weeks ago, whatever date was in December, I used that to fund these Apex accounts. So in my mind, I'm in for $350, and that's it, because I put $350 into 5 of the 25K Lucids. That was a one-time payment. There was no recurring monthly on those. And then I used the payouts that I got from those accounts to fund what I was doing for the growth on the other accounts. And the same thing for Tradeify. I put 500 into Tradeify. I just took 7,500 out last week or last Friday. And then if I can take another 10,000 out on this Friday, as long as I don't mess up, those accounts are funding what I'm doing for other accounts. So you don't have to be risky on the first ones that you get. And I definitely advise, I guess I can't say that. I would definitely say go and get it with Lucid. Oh, you can't use Lucid? Damn. Tradeify is the only one of the decent ones that allows me to trade. That stinks. Never mind. That stinks. I have a position on gold at the 50% micro play. We don't trade gold during New York in this stream. I tried taking a long on gold yesterday. I ended up being in the trade for 2 hours and it did nothing. It did the auto liquidation at 4.59 and I made like $20 on it on one MGC. But yes, this looks pretty good for a continuation up. This is a perfect representation of what we want to see for the IB, which we are not getting on Qs right now. We didn't even get like a quarter of a retracement, which kind of stinks. Do you wait for retracement at 25% of IB and then you wait for confirmation candle? I look for it to hit 50%. The reason that I don't enter up here, Friday is a perfect example of not having patience. I took 2 losses trying to short to the IB low because I did not wait for the retracement. Patience is the hardest factor in this. And then if we just don't end up taking a trade, in my eyes, there's no reason for us to go in and risk, because the risk to this trade is technically the IB low breaking. Obviously, we can put a 40-point stop in or a 35-point stop on one, but our reward right now, if we entered the trade at this moment, would be 8 points, because that's where the high is. 778. We're at 771 right now, and there's 2 minutes left in the trade. So our reward is essentially nothing, and our risk would be the entire 190-point range that we've made, which kind of stinks. How long did it take me to become profitable? About a year. I was doing it all by myself, though. I didn't have anyone helping. I was just brute forcing it. I really need to be profitable this year, and I don't know how many times I said that over the past years, but I think I will join. I'm also tired of joining. If you don't like it, then you can leave after. But most of it, we've had, I think, an 84% retention since we've been open. Really, it all comes down to just sizing down. The amount of people that I've seen turn profitable from sizing down, like Roland, you were probably already profitable before this. I don't know how many payouts you may have been getting. But Steve, he's doing great now. He just sent me a screenshot. He did his $100 a day times 20 accounts. It adds up quick too. I mean, you don't see if you're just looking at one account, $58, but 58 over 20 accounts is over $1,000. You got a 4K payout from it, from sizing down. Definitely, it does take longer in between payouts, but at the same time, you're not blowing accounts anymore. All right, there we go. We formed our IB. We want to pull back down to, at the very least, we want previous day's high. I'll take an entry there. It looks like it's going to replicate what we did yesterday. All the information on the IB is on my YouTube, Mr. Zinc X. So if you guys have any questions on the IB, it's on there. How's that gold position doing? I refuse to touch gold during New York session. I will not touch it. I think SPY broke its IB. Oh, never mind. That's a good pivot candle, so we might get lucky here. It's looking like we're going to replicate what we did yesterday. Sadly. And if it's no entry, there's no point in risking. It would be a 13-point trade right now. It's $50 on 2MNQ, which would be nice, but then we have unbelievable risk on that. It's 8 points off taking the high. What roadmap would you suggest to learn the IB? I already just answered that one. I work in tech plus 100% disabled veteran. This is my third month of trading. I'm funding about 150K, even though that's not real, but you know what I mean. Yeah, I get you. My goal is to become profitable enough to make at least 3/4 my corporate salary to retire from corp. It's doable. There we go. We're getting a nice pullback here. I might take an entry right there. That's a pretty nice pivot to 25,750. It's not quite 50%. It's a good pivot, though. Could go 1-to-1 with this right now. It's only a 20-point reward, though. Say if you guys wanted to take an entry, you could enter with 1-to-1 on this. 25,778 would be your target. That's the high. And then you can just put a 1-to-1 risk reward on it. I'm tempted. Mainly because I don't think we're going to get that big of a pullback today. What's up, Randy? I'm up 58 right now. Tempted to take an IB long, which won. And then just risk 20 points on it. I think it's going to go and take the IB right here. I don't think we're going to get a pullback to our 50% today. You got my 4K payout from sizing down, not blowing my account too. Good. Sizing down is everyone's crutch. That's why I post it every single day. Because the worst thing you can do is go on social media, Twitter and Instagram, and see someone make like a 5K trade. You have no idea how many accounts they blew, how many trial and error runs they made getting that trade. On the same note, that's how much did it cost them to get into that position mentally. Most people just want to go and show the wins. Oh, man, I really want to go long right now. We have a nice 5-minute retracement into this pretty heavy demand zone since we're over it, supply demand. On the same note, I want to wait for 50%. What do I do? What do I do? We're going to be patient. Not try to not do what we did Friday. Yes, definitely. I love trading micros. I was able to get an 80K payout. Honestly, Randy, you're part of the reason that you're a big reason that I'm doing the Apex accounts, because when you told me that you spent 40 days on the accounts trading, and that 40 days ended up getting you a 40K payout, and that's just $1,000 a day, which is a $50 trade a day. That's it. That was a big reason for me getting into the Apex accounts. You're waiting for this 15-minute candle close. The 5-minute looks decent. 622 should be a decent level to bounce off of as well. The only thing that I don't like is what our risk is going to be. I don't want to go and take a loss 1-to-1 and have it go to where 50% is what we're looking for, and then end up taking the high. Just unnecessary losses. It's the same thing that I did on Friday, but trying to be patient. I really do want to take a long on this candle. I think it's going to go right up to the IB high. What's going on, Mikey? How you doing? I haven't seen you for a little bit. How you been? A little sabbatical? Welcome back. You as well. Was St. Nick good to you this year? All right, here comes our pullback. I'm itching to get long right now. SPY is a little bit closer than Q, so this is looking like I'll take the trade on SPY as opposed to trading on an M and Q. Another reason that I don't want to take the entry too close to that high is because we are somewhat overdue a loss on the IB high getting taken first. A little engulfing candle here right now too. Rewards growing. Let's be a 40-point break to the high right now. Our stop would be 40 points. Should be right at 50%. The patience part of this trade is so difficult. I just want SPY to go and take that same level. Pretty close to taking it there too. That's 25% of the retracement. Might be all we get today. Let's put that 25% on. Oops, 75. That's what we just went and hit. I don't even have that lined up at the bottom, actually. There we go. Couldn't quite give us a full pullback. It's a good level to pull back to, though. 75%, quarter of the fair value, quarter of the IB. I think if we had taken the trade right there, still would have stopped us out with just barely 20 points. $750 is a psych level too. I really at least want to get SPY down to 50%. That one would be a lot easier to trade. Dip a little bit more for me, SPY. Q's is kind of leading SPY a little bit now. That means tech's picking up. NVIDIA is at 50% of its IB. Q's is doing decent on the pullback now. This is the same mistake that I made on Friday, which I'm trying to avoid right now, not waiting for the pullback, because it will happen. I'm just itching to get in. I don't want to miss it again like we did yesterday. SPY is very close to 50%. That's going to be a nice entry if we get a sweep below previous day's high, right to 50% of the IB as well. Did you say the report show we should push higher? No, that was just on the chart. That wasn't the reports. That was me saying this on the, if we break this trend line. This is the current trend that we're in on Qs. So we need to break either the high or the low, and then that will determine where we go for the rest of the week. Really the rest of the year. Quarter, sorry, not year. All right, just a little bit more, please. Right at 25%, it's holding pretty well. Type out, getting ready to take a long. It's holding 75%. I don't know if we'll get to 50. This would be just about a 40-point win right now. $80 and one MNQ. SPY is getting a bounce a little early too. I wonder if edgeful has a report that shows if the first day of the week is bullish, how likely we are to close green. Yeah, it has the opening candle continuation, and you can set it to the daily time frame. Where's that report? I can see the numbers in the top left, so we're not going to miss anything here. ESFI has a weaker stat for the IB on a Tuesday. Let's see. Check that first, then we'll go and look at. Yeah, this one was 50-50 last week too. It's growing though. It means that it's due for a win. Because this one also has a 73% average. I remember checking this last week and the week before on a Tuesday, because those are when we took those two losses. Last Tuesday we just never took the entry because it got to like 80% of the IB retraced. But the Tuesday before that, this one was a loss on Qs. I ended up taking. But SPY that Tuesday was reading like a 45-50% chance. Last week it was a 50-50, and then now it's up to 60-40. Back to the opening candle continuation. You can set it to, you can go to custom and set it to 3 hours is as high as you can go, it looks like. Sorry, I used to say 4 hours on here. And then that will tell you what the remaining candles will do. I have it set to the 30-minute time frame. There we go. So the next candle should, since we just closed underneath 75%, next candle should get a little additional flush. And then we can take our entry. Looks pretty good on both of these right now. Who is in my driveway? No idea who that is. You can wait, I'm about to get in a trade. Just about there. Damn dogs. So close. I want at least previous day's high. But I'm very inclined to get in on SPY. That one looks a little bit better right now. You have 2 dogs? I do, yeah. Dog said strangers, go get them. They did. My wife's out there. She can go talk to him. Great job on the patience, everyone. Oh, the guy's already gone. All right, 5 minutes. Getting a little weaker on the way down, which is okay. Oh, don't inverse it quite yet. I was getting ready to go long too. Okay. It's 5 minutes pivoting up. It's not quite at previous day's high. It got damn close. SPY looks a little bit better. I might take it on SPY. Yeah, let's try one on SPY. We waited this long. It'll be a little bit longer. Just get down there. Another 30 cents. I'm going to try it. Whew. Okay, TP is going to be at the high for SPY. Sell 20 limit. This one's going to move a lot slower. I'm probably still going to take it on MNQ. I just got long on one MES. And then the stop is going to be 20 points, which is $100. Sell 20 stop. So this is looking for the IB high. Entry was 69.65. Qs is going to be a little bit better, but SPY is going to, I like SPY more because it's almost at 50%. Q is almost at 50% too. It's not very far off. I will take it on Qs if we get that retracement. SPY little bit close. I mean, they're both pretty much the same chart right now. It's not that bad. NQ about to do it too. It's been a waiting game and a half. Got a decent entry on that. It's not too bad. So we're looking for the IB high to break. What's the name of the strategy you're using for Invesco? That's the IB strategy. It's on my YouTube. It's also on Edgeful. They have videos on it. Great job not getting in up here, though. 622.16 for that 10-cent break. Managed to wait for it to get all the way back to the IB. Pretty much IB 50. It's not quite there yet, but it's pretty close. And then we'll move the stop up with it as well. Probably don't need the stop as far down as it is, but I don't think... Oh, we have plenty of time before it gets to that level. We don't need to worry about it hitting the full stop. We'll be able to make adjustments along the way. What made you think it's going down first instead of taking it immediately? Well, that's the whole concept of the strategy, is waiting for the retracement. And there's no reason, like I was saying on MNQ. So we closed that candle. The IB candle closed at 25,772. And the IB high is 25,778. So our reward on that trade was 6 points. If we had taken it right when that candle closed, there's no reason for us to risk a 40-point candle when the break is only going to be 6 points. So we're going to make $12 or we're going to risk $80. It doesn't make sense. So we want to wait for it to retrace down, and then we want to take the long up to the IB high because that's what the stat's telling us. Do you use NFP or CPI for eval reporting? I do not. I don't trade news at all. Still waiting. I'm in the trade on MES. I'm still waiting on Qs, but I'm in the trade on MES. It's down here. It's at negative 125 right now. Not a reversal, no. Not a reversal from 50%. It's a continuation from 50%. So we're looking for it to make the IB, and then we want it to go and bink, ding down, hit 50% ideally, and then play a continuation for the long. This one's probably going to take a while to play out. Let's see what Frenchie's looking at for gold. I don't know if you're still in that gold trade, Semperfi. This is why I do not trade gold during New York session, because of BS like this. Wow. This moves much slower on MES. Much, much slower. Kind of like it. I'll take the same trade on MNQ as well. Maybe not double it up on that, actually. If MNQ hits 50%, if either of these hit 50%, I'll add one MES and that will be it. I don't think I'll add into MNQ, because if it does end up losing, then we're kind of hosed on that. But we did a really good job about waiting on the trade, which I'm happy about. It's almost at 50% right now, and then I can add another one. They need to add a close all button on Tradeovate. There's 50%. It might be overdue a loss there, which kind of stink. I'm going to add another one on MES. I'm going to have the same stop, sell 20 stop, and then sell 20 limit up there at the high. So risk is going to be about 120, I think. Maybe a little bit more. But this is the ideal entry on M&Q. Now we wait. It's not looking that good on MES. Down 53 right now. Looks like MES is going to touch that midnight opening price, which aligns with discount fibs. The levels still look good so far. Yeah, I mean, I'm not worried about the IB. If it doesn't play out, then it just doesn't play out. But at the very least, what we didn't do, we learned from the mistake on Friday last week. Wait for the retracement. This would have been the perfect entry on Qs right here. Qs is a little higher of a risk for today because of how big the range is. So maybe that's why I steered clear of that as well. Because that pivot on M and Q, it's at 50% right now. The high is 80 points, low is 80 points. So the risk is $80 or 80 points, $160. So I got stopped on one eval account, took gold on the other 4 and made 107 profit. Unfortunately, I was not copy trading 5, which I thought I was on trade of 8. Lost 1 and gain on 4 accounts. So it's not too bad. We have 5 minutes on the stream here. If this ends up taking longer, then I'm going to leave the same trade in. This is the stop losses at the IB low, take profits at the IB high. Not doubling up with M and Q. But this would be the perfect entry on M and Q right now. What would Trump say? That where we're dropping? Don't go and take the IB low. What do you say? Supreme Court sets Friday as opinion day with tariffs pending. The U.S. Supreme Court has designated Friday as opinion day, signaling that this will be the first opportunity for a verdict on President Donald Trump's global tariffs. That wouldn't be good. A bunch of put flow coming in on SPY and Qs. And well, I don't use flow. But if it ends up failing, then it ends up failing. But at the very least, we didn't take the entry way up here. So there's that. And the invalidation is the IB low. If it ends up invalidating, then this is it ended up being overdue for a loss, but I like the sweep we're getting right now so far. Back over 689. Pretty good sweep on Qs, to, SPY too. We're at negative 58 in the position right now. Just have to wait. Get a little rebound. I do want to take it on M and Q. This is perfect. This is as good as it gets on M and Q right now. I just don't want to size up too much. MES is almost back over 50% too, so it's not too bad. How many micros do you have on per? I have 2 right now. I'm in 2 MES. Either 2 MES or 1 M&Q. That's what I would do on them. The range is $160 today. I'm tempted to take it on Qs. Very tempted. So what we should see now is the shoot right back up. Not immediately, but it will take like the next probably 35 minutes to an hour. And then that's our IB high stat fulfilled. Perfect perfect show of how the stat works. 50% retracement and then right up. No problem, Randy. I'll tune into that. I'll be speaking on these prop trading fests. I'll be speaking about the same thing you were mentioning during the live, trading micros and stuff. It's free if you guys want to register. I'll tune into it, Randy, for sure. Follow-up question: if you enter slightly above 50%, do you still put your stop at the IB low, or no matter how far it is? Yeah. So what I did here, I did enter early on MES, and that's showing in the P&L. The stop loss is still at the IB low because that's where it's invalidated. The only thing that skews, unfortunately, is your risk reward. So my risk reward is slightly worse than 1-to-1 because I entered early. On the same note, it's a lot better than if we had entered up at 622.30 targeting the high break. So we did, as hard as it was not entering longs, we did really well about not chasing the trade up. So we're just waiting on, we got a decent entry right now. We're just waiting on it to develop. If it ends up sweeping the low, so be it. All right, guys, that is it for the stream today. We have the stop loss in and the take profit in. Stop loss is at the IB high, take profit. Stop loss is at the IB low, take profits at the IB high. If it ends up being a loss, then it just unfortunate show on it today. Tuesdays have been rough for the IB, recent Tuesdays anyway. All right, guys, I will see you later. We have the stop loss in, take profit in. It could take another hour, which is why I'm not going to sit around and wait for it. This took 30 minutes for us to retrace down, and that was long enough. So we'll just wait for it. We have the orders running. Time will tell. All right, guys, have a great rest of your day. If you have any questions, DM me. No, that'll do it. I'll see you guys later. And I'll get a recap post on this later, even if it loses or wins. We just have to wait. All right. Peace out.